I walked the Camino Francés in May and June of last year, and let me tell you, I can see why not everyone likes it. Just because someone saw a film about the Camino doesn't mean that person should walk across the entire country of Spain. In this video, I'm going to share 3 things you need to hear before you decide to walk the Camino. Then I'll give you my honest thoughts about the Camino Francés and I'll tell you if I recommend it. The first thing that you need to consider, and I feel like no one's really talking about this, but the Camino is hard. It was harder than I expected, and I am someone who loves walking, and I've done several long distance treks around the world. The Camino Francés has a lot of pavement, which is hard on your body. And to be honest, some of the stages felt like they were never ending. Many people who start with dreams of finishing the entire Camino Francés sadly don't make it. This is often due to injury and in general just not being prepared for how hard this is going to be. The second thing to consider before walking the Camino Francés is that it's not always peaceful. Depending on when you go, solitude can be hard to find. If you are dreaming of quiet reflection, be mindful of the season. If you walk between May and September, there's a good chance it's going to be quite crowded. Many people decide to walk the Camino for deeply personal reasons, and they want a lot of alone time. But when they get there, what they find is more of a party vibe. Now, this can be avoided, but you should know that it exists and you should manage your expectations regarding solitude. Finally, the third thing to consider before choosing to walk the Camino Francés is that this is not a long hike in nature. I met several people who were disappointed in the Camino because they expected some kind of epic trekking adventure, more along the lines of like the Pacific Crest Trail or somewhere in the Alps. It's important to consider that when you're walking the Camino, you will often be on pavement, on a road, next to cars, and walking through small villages. The Camino is a pilgrimage. It is not your typical long distance hike. Now that you know these 3 considerations, I want to tell you my honest thoughts on the Camino de Santiago based on my experience. But first, if you've walked the Camino and you think there's anything else that should be a big consideration before making the decision, please comment below. I want the comment section of this video to be an excellent resource for pilgrims who are getting ready to walk. So here's how I feel after my experience. I cried tears of joy watching the sunrise more times than I can count. I made friends who I feel like I've known for a lifetime. At the end, I felt stronger than I ever have in my life, and I wasn't ready for it to be over. The Camino felt like an entire lifetime packed into 41 days. And the feeling is truly indescribable. I felt every emotion and learned so many lessons along the way. I believe that you have to be there and feel the energy to truly understand it. When I arrived at the cathedral in Santiago de Compostela, my first thought that popped up involuntarily was, I want to do it again. You meet people every single day who have done multiple Caminos, and you'll meet people who have done it over 15 times. One reason that I think it can be addicting is that it provides a sense of purpose that I think is often lacking in our daily lives. On the Camino, you wake up and you walk. Your life is simple, yet so meaningful. You have a goal to reach each day, and reaching that goal feels like a huge accomplishment. Another reason that I think the Camino is addicting is the community. Everyone that you meet has this instant openness. They're there to connect, to reflect, and to share their stories and their lives with you, whether it's for 5 minutes or for 5 weeks. The community that you find along the Camino is something that I haven't found anywhere else in the world. And now I want to answer the question of, should you do the Camino and do I recommend it? So I want to share something that I thought about a lot while I was walking. I thought about the people who I had met who had walked the Camino before me, and I truly wondered, why didn't they tell me how hard this was going to be? But then, like so many lessons that I learned along the Camino, I realized this is just like all of life. If you asked an angel in heaven if it was worth it to come to earth to live as a human, they wouldn't list the hardships. They wouldn't tell you about the pain or the moments of doubt. Instead, their eyes would fill with tears and they would simply say, yes, it's worth it. So if the Camino is calling you, if you have been dreaming about it, and even after watching this video, you still want to do it, then you have your answer. Go with an open heart and the Camino will provide. If you're ready to start preparing for your Camino, check out the video I made where I share my top 10 tips here. Buen Camino.